Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about the need for the addition of the new alignment die into Dungeons and Dragons immediately. All right, so let's talk about this. So, Dungeons and Dragons is such a wonderful thing. It is a double-sided mirror, right? From the very beginning, Dungeons and Dragons has invited us to look back on this winsome period of time, uh, medieval feudalism, right? Like, knights and princesses and kings and dragons, right? And it has that feel, but but Dungeons and Dragons very carefully includes a lot, like quite a few anachronisms. And the reason why is while they want us to look at the world through the lens of medieval feudalism and fantasy, it also wants to be right on the very cutting edge of American politics, culture, and religion. And it's done an excellent job of doing that, right? And if you think I'm wrong there, take a look at the deities and demigods. It literally lists like American gods. Like it's really wild. So basically, Dungeons and Dragons is this double-sided mirror, and we use IRL to get better at presenting a winsome, realistic world for our players to inhabit. And Dungeons and Dragons points back to us and says, hey, Dungeons and Dragons is going to serve as a mirror for you to see your IRL world more clearly, to make decisions in that world, right? To have wisdom, to gain wisdom, to explore your humanity, all those kind of things, right? And it's really quite fascinating, right? So one of the things that is, really amazing is we need to, as dungeon masters, we need to adjust the rules of Dungeons and Dragons using the page 4. The rules are not in charge. You are in charge. It's said to every dungeon master in Dungeons and Dragons today, right? And so we need to adjust Dungeons and Dragons to match the IRL. So something just happened in IRL which demands the inclusion of an alignment die. So I'll tell you what the event is, and then I'll tell you what the alignment die is and how you're going to change your Dungeons and Dragons game going forward for all your Dungeons and Dragons sessions. All right, so what just happened? Well, good defeated evil. There you go. So Dungeons and Dragons is all about the fight between good and evil. It has had alignment in the game and has preserved alignment from 1974 all the way up to today, right? It's in Dungeons and Dragons, right? And Dungeons and Dragons is very, very interested in the fight of good versus evil. But in IRL, we just saw the fight of good versus evil, and good won, and evil lost, right? So good, Volodymyr Zelensky, President Volodymyr Zelensky, he is the neutral good alignment leader of Ukraine, right? And very exciting. And he just virtually kicked in the teeth President Vladimir Putin, right? Who is lawful evil, right? Like that's his alignment, right? You murder civilians and bury them in mass graves, you straight lawful evil, right? There you go. All right. And President Volodymyr Zelensky led his troops, and you know what they did? In 6 days, they swept across their nation and recaptured occupied territories. Balaklia, specifically cities, right? Key cities, right? Balaklia, Kapyansk, Izium, all taken by Volodymyr Zelensky, neutral good, from, neutral good hero, from Vladimir Putin, lawful evil villain, right? And, a lich in every way, really. Yeah. And here we see the real world is saying, hey, good defeats evil, right? And there are these forces in the world, like people don't want evil to prevail, right? And so you can see, like, one of the things they're seeing right now is Russian, Vladimir Putin is like, hey, get on the front lines and murder some Ukrainians. And they're like, I'm going to pass, right? I'm not really, and they're having a hard time. Like, you will see news story after news story after news story. Look at any mainstream newspaper, and they'll tell you they are having to hire mercenaries because their own people are like, nah, that looks super evil. I'd rather not do that, right? Which totally get, right? And so the world begins to work against you. But Volodymyr Zelensky, neutral good hero, the world is aiding him, right? And you are seeing good defeats evil. So this means immediately we need to adjust the dice in our Dungeons and Dragons games. So every single player character who is chaotic good immediately should begin getting a D4 on every action check and a D4 on every effect die that's damage or any other effects that a spell has. They can add a D4 to their action, to their D20 action check, and to their damage. D4 on every single roll, every single action, right? A neutral good player character should get a D6, and a lawful good player character should get a D8. Every single action check, every single player, every single damage roll. And then on the other side, the Dungeon Master. Now this would apply to a player character if a Dungeon Master allows player characters to be evil. But if you're playing a player character, or if there's a non-player character who is chaotic evil, you would get a negative D8 every time you roll a D20. And you would roll the D8 and you would minus whatever came up on it, not a plus like the player characters. And then for your neutral evil, that would be a D6 negative on every action check, every damage, every effect for spells, right? Healing, all those kind of things, right? So if a neutral evil cleric actually had a 2d6 healing from their evil god, they would roll another d6, and that would be reduced from the amount of points that they heal. And then finally, a lawful evil player character or non-player character would get a minus d4, right? So this is the alignment die, and it's powerful because it's on every action check, every damage roll, every spell effect roll, right? And that and this models our real world, and our real world is telling us, if you a lawful evil villain, the world's going to defeat you. And if you are a neutral good hero, the world will aid you, right? And that the shape of the world today is good defeats evil. That's our IRL, and we are shown very clearly by the Dungeons & Dragons design team that we should reflect the IRL in our Dungeons & Dragons game. All that's my opinion. I'd love to hear yours. Let me know. All that's my humble opinion. I'd love to hear your humble opinion. By the way, there have been people who say that my opinions are not humble. That is ridiculous. All of my opinions are humble every time with everyone. They're the most humble that you could possibly manage as a human. All that's my humble opinion. I'd love to hear yours. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.